Is there anything cooler than Karl Urban as Judge Dredd? The way he effortlessly takes down criminals, looks like a badass on a motorcycle, and most importantly, how he makes damn sure he never takes off that helmet. Because if there's one rule to follow in a Judge Dredd movie, it's that one.
You betray the law!
Don't get me started. So drop some Slo Mo, examine all the fine details of this dystopic world, and see why we never got the sequel that we were all begging for. This is what happened to Dredd.
You know how often we get a judge up in peace trees?
Well, you got one now.
The Judge Dredd character started its life in the 2000 AD magazine, and gave people a glimpse at a dystopian world where cops are judges, juries, and executioners. And it wasn't immediately clear who would be the lead of the story, but there was so much potential within the world. The focus then went to a single person, Judge Dredd, a man who never takes off his helmet and has an instantly recognizable visage. He follows the law to a T. And as much as he represents the law, there are actually several fascist elements to his costume design, hammering home the point that the law isn't always right. It's satirical and commented on politics in a way that others just weren't doing at the time. This dystopic story really took off, and we got various comic books featuring Judge Dredd over the years. 2000 AD actually still runs to this day, with many featuring Dredd in some capacity. He was just simply cool. The fact that he acted without prejudice and was simply doing his job made him interesting. He was incorruptible, and the helmet allowed readers to project whatever they wanted behind the mask. We already went into great detail all the ways that Sylvester Stallone properly fucked up the first Judge Dredd film, so make sure to check out that video. Because of the reaction to that film, any work on a Judge Dredd sequel stopped, as interest in the property faded. It wasn't until 2006 that writer Alex Garland started toying with the idea of writing a reboot. What started during the post-production of Sunshine was finally completed during the filming of 28 weeks later. It was originally going to examine the judge system with Judge Death, but he felt that it required too much background knowledge to achieve its desired impact. He wanted something that comic fans would appreciate, but that regular cinema goers could easily ingest. He decided to focus on a day in the life of Dredd, specifically with him training a younger colleague. And he didn't want Dredd to have any major arcs, as he felt it would betray his comic counterpart. No role would be more important to cast than Judge Dredd himself, and the producers were lucky in that Karl Urban actually sought them out. He felt that the role would be incredibly challenging, as so much emotion is portrayed through the eyes, and Dredd always has his helm on. He knew the character so well that he even revised some of Dredd's lines during his performance, usually cutting back versus opting for more. Olivia Thirlby was cast as Dredd's partner Cassandra Anderson, a rookie with psychic abilities. Lena Headey, fresh off her Game of Thrones success, took on the villainous role of Madeline Madrigal, otherwise known as Mama. She wears a gnarly scar prosthetic that really pays off in the end. Domhnall Gleeson even shows up as one of Mama's computer experts. Then we had Avon Barksdale himself, Wood Harris, as one of Mama's lackeys, who sets off the whole events of the story. Moon director Duncan Jones had been offered the directing gig, but said that his vision was very unconventional and often clashed with Garland's script. Instead, Vantage Point director Pete Travis was given the job, but Travis actually wouldn't complete the film, clashing with producers during the edit and being taken off. Instead, Alex Garland, who was on set every day as a producer and was seen by many as the de facto director, helped complete the picture. Urban himself actually broke the news to us at JoBlo back in 2018, saying, "A lot of people don't realize that Alex Garland actually directed that movie."
Ready?
Yeah.
You look ready.
The plot of Dredd mostly focuses on a 200-story building in Megacity 1 called Peach Trees. The leader, Mama, skins 3 rival gang members and throws them off said building. This brings the attention of Judge Dredd, who's in the midst of training rookie Anderson, who has psychic abilities. But Mama has other plans, and she locks down the building, threatening the inhabitants that they must murder the judges or face her wrath. Sure, there are some similarities to The Raid, but it's different enough to not feel like a ripoff. It's just an awesome concept for an action movie. It's practically a video game as we watch Dredd and Anderson make their way up floor to floor while taking out plenty of bad guys along the way. And while he may be terrifying, Dredd isn't just a cold-hearted killer. He still clearly has a conscience. Take for example when he comes across two teenagers that have been roped into Mama's scheme. Rather than killing him, which he has every right to do in this world, he switches to stun and takes them out of commission non-lethally. In order to properly ground the world, despite this taking place in a near-distant future, they didn't want elements to take people out of said world. So no flying cars, but we do get some drones, and the buildings are similar in look to what we see today, just a bit more over the top. The city of Johannesburg, South Africa was enhanced with various CGI buildings to help fill out the world, and make it into the renowned Megacity 1. But these changes meant that nearly every single shot outside had to be altered in some way, making the rumored $30 to $45 million budget feel damn near impossible. Unlike the Stallone film, which would have its uniform designed by Gianni Versace, the Dredd crew opted for a more practical approach. The helmet is a near exact recreation of the one from the comics, with the uniform itself having more of a SWAT aesthetic, opting for function over style. Dredd's signature weapon, his Lawgiver, was a simple 9mm, modified to make it look more futuristic. The Lawmaster, Dredd's bike, was actually a 500cc motorcycle that was retrofitted with parts to give it some personality. Urban actually performed the stunt driving himself, and one of the coolest elements of Dredd is the drug Slo Mo, which allows the users to experience life briefly in slow motion. This allows for some great moments where the slow motion actually makes sense in the reality of the world. It has purpose. It also shows just how evil Mama is, as one of her go-to tactics is to force slow-mo on someone, then drop them off a building, allowing them to bask in their last moments before a brutal death. All of the slow motion sequences were shot using the Phantom Flex rig, which recorded at 4,000 frames per second. A visual effects team then went in and added flourishes, like the little sparkles that you see. And what would make the slow motion stand out even further is the film's implementation of 3D. Hollywood was absolutely obsessed with the gimmick at the time, seeing it as a great way to be able to boost ticket sales, as there was a 3D surcharge. But unless you were James Cameron, the 3D ranged from okay to straight up headache-inducing. Even still, it was so in vogue at the time that it was seen as a necessity for their action film. And the movie never takes a gimmicky approach with objects flying at the camera. Instead, cinematographer Anthony Dodd Mantle's main focus, no pun intended, was adding depth. He wanted the gimmick to both enhance the slow motion sequences, as well as further envelop the viewer in the world of Megacity 1. While 3D cameras were often used, there were times when a 2D camera needed to be used and then altered in post. Mantle also created his own 3D camera rig to allow him to shoot sequences handheld. This all combines to give Dredd its very unique look.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
The music for Dredd is one of the many elements that make up its identity. Paul Leonard Morgan's industrial score combines beautifully with the dystopian world. For the slow-mo sequences, he wanted something that properly matched these slowed-down visuals, so he recorded traditional instruments and slowed those down to achieve the desired effect. Hilariously enough, the temp track that Paul used for the slow-mo theme originally was actually Justin Bieber's Baby, after being turned on to it by Portishead's Jeff Barrow. What a strange sequence of events. Dredd, or Dredd 3D as it was known at the time, released in the United States on September 7, 2012, and brought in just $6.3 million on its opening weekend. the worldwide run wouldn't fare much better, just barely crossing the $41 million mark. No matter how you sliced it, Dredd was a financial failure. But where it didn't fail was in its critical and audience reception, earning an 80 and 72% respectively on Rotten Tomatoes. The critical consensus said, fueled by bombastic violence and impressive special effects, rooted in self-satire and deadpan humor, Dredd does a remarkable job of capturing its source material's gritty spirit. And this is where we get to the sad part of the video where we talk about the sequel. Despite years of fan support and Karl Urban having a desire to reprise the role, we never received a proper Dredd sequel. There were rumors that 2 sequels were planned and would first follow the origins of Dredd and Mega City 1, with the 3rd film following Judge Death and the Dark Judges. Now, I won't lie, these don't really sound like great sequels to the film that we got, so maybe it wasn't so bad that they didn't get it made at the time. A TV show titled Judge Dredd Mega City 1 was announced in 2017, with Urban in discussions to return. Then, the next we heard of it was Rebellion CEO Jason Kingsley blaming the pandemic for putting the series on hold. He claimed there were scripts made, and they were ready to go into production. How much of that is true is up to you, as there has not been a single update on the film, despite the pandemic being long over. Any hopes of a new Dredd seem to be smaller and smaller with each passing day. But at least we have the 2012 film to remind us of what could have been. We received an absolutely gorgeous 4K of Dredd, and there may be a certain website proclaiming that the film's a blast, which, is pretty sweet. While the history of Dredd is more sad than anything, given the fact that we never got more from this incredible world, need I remind you of how much worse it could have been? Because I'll take a bomb that looks like this over a hit that looks like this any day of the week. And that is what happened to Dredd.
Defense noted.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.